The Xbox Drive is powered by patrons at patreon.com/YumiCapri. And I want to say thank you to all of our patrons over there, especially our Diamond executive producers, Jonathan Brown and Slimer Snarf, our Platinum producer, Dallas Ford, and our Gold members, Argo, Ashley Nicholson, James Johnson, Gene K, Marcus O'Neill, Skinny Matt, Trucker Sloth, and Xavier Reyes. Thank you, everybody, for all of your support. Hey everyone, it's me, Sean Capri. I'm in my car and you're listening to the most horsepowerful podcast on the internet. It's the Xbox Drive. I'm on a Skype call with my friend Ryan Turford. He's the man on the moose, and on our journey today, we're going to hit that nitrous button and get all the frames boosted up to another frames per second or something. So jump on in to the Xbox Drive. Blah, 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 blah. I can't believe they let me do this for free. Blah.
Hello, Sean Capri.
Ryan, I'm a mess today, man. How are you doing today, Ryan Turford?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm okay. I felt good about like my voice on that one, man. Just to pull the curtain back every once in a while, like maybe my voice is a little tired from the morning from working, or maybe I hadn't had my coffee quite right. But I need a little bit of that. Like it's not a clean scream. I'm not just like yelling. It's got to have a little bit of that like rock and roll to it. You know what I'm saying? Oh, let's
For a second
go.
there, I really didn't think you were going to make it all the way across the finish line, though, Sean. It sounded like you were like. You're breaking up at the end. You're like, maybe I'm not going to actually be able to make it all the way to the end of this intro. But I'm glad you did.
The lungs were there. I just didn't know what the hell to say, man. I can't read and do this at the same time. I make it up as I go, and I'm also trying to like not hit children in the neighborhood and just be safe. It's the Xbox Drive.
You're back in the car this week. The polar vortex is over, Sean.
It's over. We're in t-shirt and shorts, man. It's only -10 today, so we're celebrating here in Canada.
Why is it colder here in Toronto than it is in Edmonton? What's going on?
We paid our dues, man. We paid our dues, all right? So it's all good, man.
Seems fair enough. Well, Sean, we've got a packed show this week, so we should just dive right into it. We're going to clean the garage a little bit before we get started, though. Halo Saturdays. Every Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you install Master Chief Collection and want to play with us, hit us up. In fact, hit Sean up specifically, because I know people always ask who to contact about that. So I'm going to say contact Sean either on Twitter at Sean Capri, or join the Yumi and Capri Discord, which is free to join, by the way. You don't have to be a patron to join it. All the links for that is in the description of this video or in the podcast notes as well. We mostly play Halo 2 and 3. So make sure you have those installed. Also, if you're on PC and not on Xbox, you can still play with us. It's still cross.
Yeah, man.
We have people ask about that all the time. Also, we live stream Halo Saturdays. So if you don't want to play with us, but you want to come watch, twitch.tv/Sean Capri or youtube.com/the Xbox Drive. I think starting this week, right, John?
Yeah, I think we'll do a little co-streaming. You and I were looking at some pretty interesting stuff that I think we'll talk about at another point in time. But dude, like I'm really excited for what we have in store for the YouTube channel. We still have big sights and big ambitions. But yeah, people should definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/the Xbox Drive.
Speaking of the YouTube channel segue, if you would like to support the show, if you like what we do here at the Xbox Drive, number one, you can subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/the Xbox Drive. We are on our way to 500 subscribers. We just hit 300 this week, Sean. It happened. We finally made it. We did it. When we hit 500, though, we'll be giving away 1 year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. And all you have to do to enter is just be subscribed to the channel. That's it. You're entered and you are ready to go in that giveaway. Also, we may have a little something because we hit 300 coming up soon. Also, you can get early access to the show itself if you put a little tip in the tip jar over at patreon.com/you, me, and Capri. You can find all of our shows there and support us that way. We actually do a monthly show called You, Me, and Capri. That is Sean and I talking about other stuff that isn't necessarily Xbox, that we just released an episode of this week that's exclusive to the Patreon. You can also find the Pants Patreon podcast for Patrons podcast, Sean, over there as well, which I know you record every single week, which is kind of like a Q&A with Sean.
Yeah, man.
That's exclusive to the Patreon as well. So all kinds of awesome stuff over there. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing over there, or obviously leaving a review on your podcast service of choice definitely goes a long way, or subscribing to us on all the podcast services around the globe. That's all the plugs, Sean. That was enough to go through.
That's now the garage is clean.
For sure.
Or the house. It's housekeeping is really what it is. That's our pun. I haven't explained one of our car puns in a little while, man. So we got to do it.
Well, we got to explain this one. It's drive-by shoutouts, Sean, because we got a drive-by shoutout this week. Of course, this is a tribute to our YouTube comment section. And this one kind of special to me because this one's from my brother, Kyle. So Kyle Turford actually said the following on YouTube this week. Ryan bringing up Final Fantasy XIV and Walker makes me want to, 1, replay Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age, on my Series X, because my brother just got a Series X not too long ago, actually. He's part of the Xbox family via Game Pass. And 2, watch Char's Counterattack, because new Gundam bundles. Char's Counterattack is a Mobile Suit Gundam movie, because I referenced that on the last show. There goes my long weekend, because he posted this right before the Family Day weekend. Man, I love hearing my brother talking about Xbox. Again, my brother was like only pretty much on PlayStation and PC for the longest time. Finally decided to pick up an Xbox after I told him about Game Pass, because he was starting to see Game Pass on PC, and he's like, oh, maybe I want to play this on a console too. So yeah, he's finally part of the Xbox family. It's cool to see. Dude. Final Fantasy XII, underrated Final Fantasy game as well. I haven't played it since the PS2 era when it first came out. I've never gone back and replayed it, and I haven't since it came to Game Pass, but it's awesome to see it on Game Pass now for other people to check out. And I think of all the Final Fantasy games, it's probably one that I would imagine holds up the best out of all the older ones.
Wow.
So it's definitely a good one for people to go back to if they've never played it. Although it does kind of play like an MMO as far as the combat is concerned, which I know is a turnoff for some people. So, Sean, speaking of playing things, let's grab our 8-tracks, pop them in. It's time for the playlist. And we played some games this week. Let me tell you what. Interesting thing. I'm going to go real quick through mine because I didn't play much. I played Habroxia 2. I played more of it. I haven't finished it yet because most of this week, was spent finishing Platinum Persona 4 Royal, which I did.
How
and then
dare you?
I spent a lot of time watching romance anime and playing 3DS, Sean. So it was a very weird week for Ryan. But what did you play, my friend?
Broken by that, dude. Oh my gosh, that is awesome. Sounds like you had a really a very nice week, man. I'm happy to hear it. Dude, did you have to do multiple playthroughs for the Platinum on Persona?
One playthrough.
Okay, well that's good.
It only took 114 hours though, Sean.
That's enough. Yeah, wow. I mean, we're going to be talking about this for a little bit, with the release schedule that it is. Like, we're really not looking for a whole lot until May, I don't think.
It's going to be a lot of backlog games for us for a while. And especially too, because this is probably not going to be the end of me talking about Persona, because Persona 5 Strikers comes out tomorrow, and I'm going to be playing that too. So I'm actually very excited about that game, and I'll probably talk about that a bit. Just like you've got a non-Xbox game on your list as well, Sean.
Well, it's very rare for me to mention a non-Xbox game, even though I do play on everything. I have a special place in my heart for Super Mario 3D World, man. I am so excited that I'm playing the crap out of this game. And I told the story, I think it was on the Pants Patreon podcast, about picking this game up with my son Lincoln, and he just lost his mind to go to the store and grab a Mario game, even though we already have it on the Wii U. But I'm seeing a lot of people enjoying it, and I feel like this game is a damn masterpiece, dude. Like, it's excellent. So I'm enjoying that on my Switch. But what other game am I playing? I'm playing the Medium. And
yeah, I saw you were streaming that last night.
Dude, I'm into it. I feel like last night I got to an extraordinary moment in the game. It's not necessarily like a boss battle, but definitely an encounter that just totally blew me away, man. I'm really starting to get into it. I think that you set my expectations perfectly, which is to say that they weren't really all that high, but I might be completely eradicating that for anybody who's listening to this, to say I am completely in love with this game, dude. All of the things that people talk about being a detractor, I love about it. I love the forced camera, the static the static camera angles, and the way that you sort of meander through all the environments. It's closed off environments as well. You're sort of contained so that you don't wander off too far, because you're gonna have to sort out. I don't know if necessarily I call them puzzles, but there's definitely obstacles and things for you to get around. And the way that I interact with this game is evolving as I'm playing it, and learning to go back and forth when I'm in the real world and the spirit world, or the limbo world, or whatever you want to call it, and go oh, there's something to interact with here on the right side of the screen, and there's or other times there's something on the left side. So it feels so fresh to me, even though it is celebratory and it pays homage to so many older games. I think you talked about horror games on the PlayStation or PS2 era type of deal. And the story is really hitting for me, man. I am really, really enjoying this gem on Game Pass right now, man.
Yeah, we talked about it too, but what you could definitely tell from the reviews, you either really didn't like this game or you loved it. And I'm in the camp where I loved it, and I'm glad to hear that you're loving it as well. And again, like it's one of the things that again most people would call like the fixed camera angles to be like a detractor, but I like that because it kind of heightens the tension. Almost
big time.
It's a horror game, so it's trying to it's all about building atmosphere and tension in the medium, and that's what makes it scary. It's not so much the obstacles you're running into that's scary. It's more just the mood that's creepy more than anything.
It is, yeah.
And I really love my time with it. I'm so happy to hear that you're enjoying it. I'm glad that you're enjoying it much more than Blair Witch, which was the only other game I know that you've played from Blooper Team. So I'm glad that you're having such a good time, but I know you haven't finished it though yet. So
no, the performance of Blair Witch was really a huge issue for me, and also getting just lost in a forest and not really being sure of where to go. And that's why maybe like I'm really hypersensitive to it on this game. It's directing me in a way that's, to me, it's smarter. It's smarter where it's like, you can tell where you're supposed to be and where you're not supposed to be. And in some cases, you're just not actually able to expand out there. There is a couple quips, though. There is a couple things where, like, there's a lot of different abilities that, her name is Marianne, right? I think? Marianne?
Yeah, Marianne.
She has a variety of activity or abilities that she can do to interact with the world that can lead to, like, either solving a puzzle or moving on to the next area or whatever. And it's not always clear that, like, that's what you're supposed to do. Or, like for example, there's one... I don't remember what it's called, but you press the right bumper and you can sort of like sense something. It's I can't remember what the word is, but you can sense something, and sometimes objects that you'll be looking for have like an echo in it or a memory embodied in this sentimental object. And in some cases, you can sense it, and you'll listen to a memory, and that will sort of like unlock or progress you in the story or the puzzle. And I'm not always looking for that. And I for me, it's just maybe a learning curve where I go like, what's my toolkit? What are the things that I'm able to do to progress things and solve these puzzles? It's not always clear to me of what is available and what's not. But yeah, it might be just because I'm kind of early in the game, and I got a little pissy about it last night, Ryan Turford.
Yeah, it's a little more. It's much more directed than something like Blair Witch is, but it does have like some of those same elements from Blair Witch that you need to do specific things to progress. It's not just about getting to the next area. It's like finding specific objects in the environment that trigger like a door to open or something like that. It's
exactly.
More like that kind of thing.
Which again, very imaginative though.
It's very different from a lot of other games. That's for sure. It definitely stands out. And again, it reminds me so much of games like Clock Tower 3 or just a whole bunch of other games.
I just really like it. So. Yeah, like I just want to find out what happened. Like it's got its hooks in me, as they say. Like I want to, like, who is this Thomas character? Why did she call? It seems like something has happened to this character, and I'm meeting all these people in this limbo world. This little girl, Sadness, she is just like creeping me out, dude. I don't know. I could go on and on about it, but yeah, play the medium at least, and it's on Game Pass. Like, just. People
you have no excuse unless you don't like horror games, in which case, obviously, if you don't like horror games, you're not going to
But it's not like gory, and it's not like there's one jump scare that got me, but for the most part, it's just unsettling. And as somebody who like appreciates like a variety of creativity, I just love seeing like what brain created this world and this interaction and all the things that happened to Marianne. It's like the design of it too, and the way that the split screen works. You have these impeccable shots. I should be taking more screenshots of this game because the cinematography in it is excellent, and that's one of the benefits of having like a static camera or forced camera angles. It's like there's these frame shots that are just gorgeous. So yeah, man, I could go on, but right now I'm playing this game at the right moment. I am focused on it. I'm right in on it. And in case anybody was wondering, Hitman 3 is continuing. I'm gonna that'll be my snack food that I'm gonna be playing throughout the rest of the year. Well, I'll go in, try a challenge, and then I'll jump back out. I don't know that a stealth game like that is something I can play for 5 hours at a time. But I think I'll just be like, I'll give it a shot and then jump out. But still enjoying Hitman 3. But the medium has my heart right now, dude. I just love it.
Dude, I'm so happy right now. I'm so proud of you, Sean. You're actually playing a game that we're both really enjoyed as far as a horror game. So
look at that.
I'm so happy you're like that. But Sean, let's land the brakes on this conversation. Okay. It's time for some breaking news because we got to get out of this because there's so much to talk about. First off, first news story, bit of a sad one for me. Also, before we get into news, actually, I should preface this real quick. We haven't we're recording this before the Nintendo Direct happens on Wednesday. So when you're hearing this Thursday morning, and if we didn't mention anything there, that they announced that's also coming to Xbox. That's why. So just
I wonder if there's going to be anything. That's a good point. I didn't even think of that.
We know that Republic Commando, for example, Star Wars Republic Commando got rated, and it sounds like it's going to be probably a shadow drop. So, and I would imagine that's coming to Xbox, just like Episode 1 Racer did, because it's from the same company that's doing that. So that's one, for example, that I'm pretty sure is going to get announced there that comes to Xbox. So if anything else like that comes up, we'll talk about it on the show next week. So just,
interesting.
So for the listeners know, that's why we didn't talk about it that week. So first news story, in an interview with the Washington Post released earlier today, Final Fantasy XIV director Yoshi P was talking about all kinds of stuff about Final Fantasy XIV. He's talking about, for example, the fact that there's still probably about 5 more years of content left in Final Fantasy XIV, which
that's crazy.
Sounds like a long time, but that's probably like 2.5 more expansions essentially, or maybe 3 in that amount of time. But when asked specifically about Xbox, he actually stated that that's kind of on the back burner for now. They are essentially because the product itself is ending the end of its life and the amount of resources they have to work with. Because also one thing that most people don't know is that Yoshi P is also on the development team for Final Fantasy 16. In fact, a lot of people that work on Final Fantasy 14 are actually developing Final Fantasy 16, which is one of the reasons why I'm so excited for that game, because I love 14. So I think that's taken resources away from the team that would normally be going into the Xbox version. And that's kind of what he made it sound like in the interviews. So
sad news for Ryan.
Unless something happens between now and then, I mean, they already had announced the port though. So that's odd that we're going to kind of getting this comment now, but we got that announcement pre-COVID. And I think maybe that changed things. So I would imagine
that is so weird.
Yeah. I would imagine this will be the last time we probably talk about Final Fantasy 14 on the podcast for a while. But
is
this
it a
totally
subscription?
Bums me out.
Do you pay monthly for that, Ryan?
You do. It's $20 a month. So.
God. Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, for me,
the
amount of time I
play
it, though, it's worth the subscription. But yeah, it is a subscription-based game, which, again, I had expected that the reason we didn't hear about it at the previous showcase was just because they wanted to put the spotlight on the PS5 version, and they usually don't announce platforms for the new expansions until right before they come out. When the pre-orders go up. So I do
want to try it. Like I have a lot of interest in this just because like you like it so much, and Jace at twitch.tv/Backeridge plays it as well. And I don't know, I'm just like looking for some hope on this, but I don't know if it's happening or even like a Game Pass thing for PC or something. But at $20
the one nice
a month,
thing, if anyone who's listening to this ever wants to get into Final Fantasy 14 and wants to play it on Xbox, number one, it is on PC technically, and number two, if you decided to jump in it on PC and decided to wait for the console version to come, if it is coming, your characters and all your progress will still exist across both versions. Like that's how it works with PlayStation and PC now. Is essentially you just log into the same account and your characters and all your stuff appears in both places essentially. So that's part of the reason why it didn't come to Xbox at launch, was that Microsoft wanted it to run specifically on Xbox servers and be closed off from the other versions of the game. And
interesting. Look how far they've come. Holy cow.
That was at the beginning of the Xbox One generation. So that's the whole reason why we're kind of in this pickle to begin with.
Don Matrick. Oh, thanks a lot. Thanks, Matrick.
Pretty much, especially because again, Final Fantasy 14 is probably one of the world's biggest games as far as PC
it's
games.
up there with World of Warcraft, man. It was saying that's insane.
Well, the last time they reported on subscribers was like 19 million monthly subscribers. That's almost as many people as Game Pass, Sean. So, yeah, it's a big game.
Wow,
it's too bad it's not coming to Xbox. But Sean, let's move on though to some happier news, because Microsoft announced a new Xbox wireless headset this week that will pair directly with your Xbox Series X or Xbox One and will offer full Bluetooth support for other devices. It will support Dolby Atmos as well as a bunch of other audio profiles as well, and will launch on March 16th for $99 US. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think the Canadian price is like $129.99.
Yep. Yeah, it is.
Really interesting Xbox headset design. It looks kind of like the PlayStation Gold headset or the Platinum headset or whatever.
Do you think so?
Headset is called.
Oh, the new one, like the Pulse headset.
Pulse.
Yeah,
It looks very similar.
I have the Golds, and I didn't think they looked anything like that. But yeah, the Pulse I think are a little bit very sleek, very modern looking, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's got like a the microphone kind of retracts. It also has a new auto mute feature.
Thank you.
It'll detect if you're not talking, and if you're not talking, it'll just mute your mic essentially, so you don't have to press the button. So yeah, it's really interesting to see Microsoft come out with a headset. I think this is the first time they've done this in a while, besides the ones that have come with your console in the past. So
yeah, an actual first-party headset that, and I'm hearing good things about the Pulse headset over on the Sony side. I had the Sony Golds. I thought those were really good. I thought this was a great price point as well for people to just like go in, get a good quality headset for $100. But I am also a little bit surprised by this, Ryan, that they didn't do the Elite take on this, that they didn't have like, this is the premium headset that you can get for, I don't even know, like a $300 version of the headset.
Well, it sounds like something like that might be coming later, as we heard about some kind of, there's an agreement with Microsoft and another sound company that I'm blanking on the name of right now.
Yeah, it's like Olaf and Sunderson. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get Oops or whatever we call it. What do we, the Fender Benders.
The fender benders, yeah. So I'm pretty sure that's probably I think there is going to be one at some point. But for now, I think this is going to be a great alternative for people who just want a headset. Agree. Especially because headsets aren't cheap, especially like really good quality ones. Obviously, this is not going to be the type for Sean Capri, the audiophile who needs like the top quality stuff. But at the same time, I think that if you want like a really good quality headset, I think this is probably going to be a good choice. But Sean, let's let some of our friends into the car with us, because we've got not one, but two different questions about headsets from two different people. So I'm going to start with Edward Varnell at That Retro Code. And he asks, with Xbox's new wireless headset coming next month, how important are headsets to the gamer who may not do a lot of online gaming, or how much are people willing to pay for the best quality? So Ed, for me personally, I actually use headsets a lot when I'm not online gaming all the time as an alternative to using my soundbar or my TV sound, because I don't have great sound coming out of my TV. My soundbar does a good job. But in the middle of the winter, for example, the heater in my apartment is very loud. So a lot of times I'm actually playing video games with my headphones on rather than that. And I still, or like whenever I want to get good quality out of it, or if I'm playing a rhythm game, like something like Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memories or Persona 5 Dancing All Night, those are the types of games that I want to have like headphones on while I'm listening to while playing them. So I think it also kind of depends on the type of game too. Like it can really up the tension in it when you're playing a horror game, like Resident Evil or The Medium. Like The Medium, for example, I played entirely with headphones on because I wanted to get kind of that whole, like, be like immersed in the experience. So I think it just depends on the individual gamer, how important that is to them. But what do you think about this question, Sean?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different types of use cases for this, right? Like as a new parent and with kids who are sleeping when I game, I think is really helpful to have headsets as an option. I agree with absolutely everything that you say too. Like I feel like headsets and using headphones to experience video games is becoming more and more normal, like and more common, I would say, which is maybe why you see so many options now. And maybe that's why Microsoft is finally getting into this. But yeah, like I think it's just a matter of now finding the headset that actually works for people. Like this is a good price point, and it's also very flexible in that it connects directly to your Xbox, which was the case with the SteelSeries. I think you're using the SteelSeries, the 9X. That was the case there, super convenient. And but it also has Bluetooth, so you can connect it to your phone or to some other device as well. So it's not just an Xbox headset, and I think that's really important for this one, because it's hard to go, I'll spend $500, $400, $300 on a headset, and it's like, I can only use it for one thing. Like that never really made much sense to me before. So I'm glad that they've got some flexibility on this, man.
Yeah, for sure. And they did talk about too that you'll be able to connect to both your Xbox and a device via Bluetooth at the same time.
At the same time. Yeah, man.
So you can connect so let's say like on Halo Saturdays, for example, we chat via Discord, but rather than using the Xbox party chat. So you could listen to the game audio through your headset while also being Bluetooth connected to your computer through Discord or your phone or whatever device you want to use it with, and then kind of use the microphone on there to talk to people.
Dude, how is that not even part of like, I'm so glad you pointed that out. I feel like that, I mean, maybe they don't want to direct people out of using Xbox Party Chat, but that is huge. It's a giant inconvenience. I can't believe people actually do it with us, that we chat on Discord. It's way less convenient to do that. But yeah, that would be great. So, dude, wow. Good, smart.
Yeah, that's
man
the whole
right
reason
there,
why
bro.
I sit at my desk and play on my tiny monitor when we have Halo Saturdays rather than on my couch and on.
I don't even know how we ended up doing that. I mean, it is easy to jump into the Discord and people can come in and out. You don't have to worry about, like, I don't know, maybe it's that much easier than jumping into a party.
Well, it also allows us to have, because sometimes on Halo Saturdays, we have people come and chat with us that aren't even playing with the game with us. So
that's true.
That's part of the reason. So.
I mean, it helps me manage everybody's volume and levels and stuff. So that's helpful for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Did I answer the entire question? I'm not sure if I got to everything.
You did, and I was going to bring up Blaze Knight's question because he also asked a question about this. Blaze Knight at Blaze Knight 0923 asks the question: do you have any experience with wireless headsets? Do you sync directly to Xbox, or is it through the controller? Would a wireless headset improve / decrease or be about the same level as audio latency as wired headphones? So Blaze Knight, I can speak to my experience with the the Steel Series 9X headphones, which I'm actually wearing in the video. If you're watching the video, I use these with my Xbox all the time, specifically for Halo Saturdays, where I have it connected to my Xbox, and it connects just like your controller would. So you just sync it to your Xbox the same way you would sync a controller, and it actually recognizes it as a headset, as a separate device. So it doesn't plug into your controller or anything like that. It's all wireless. And then I actually have a headphone jack on these headphones that goes into my computer, and that's how I get like the Discord audio and hear both of them at the same time. And this is going to work the same way as that. So it's nice. As simple as turning on your headset and it immediately just pairs to your Xbox. Once you've paired it once, that's it. It just remembers it.
And it turns on the Xbox. Like if you grab your headset instead of your controller, it'll actually turn on the Xbox.
Yeah, it does. Like as soon as you turn on your headset, it'll turn on your Xbox and then you can turn on your controller in whatever order you want to do that in. So
yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it works out really well. And as far as audio latency, again, I mentioned before that I play a lot of music games. Honestly, the audio latency is better than my TV speakers. So it's really good with audio latency, even though I'm playing it across the room. So I think that audio latency is top notch. Like there is still some, but it's like, again, it's not nearly as much as A, my TV speakers, or B, my sound bar on my TV. So it's definitely better than those.
Yeah, I've been mainly using wired headphones, actually, just going back and forth between the PC and my Xbox controller. So I'm curious about this, man. I would like to, move into the 20th century or 21st century and actually have some wireless headphones, but I haven't found the ones that quite work for me that I really, really love. So I've got some old Razer Threshers, the tournament editions that I've liked, but I'm curious to see about how this works at $100 price point. I think that's close to what I paid for my my current headset. So I actually haven't splurged too much on my headset right now, man. Even though I do appreciate a good quality headset, I am a bit of an audiophile, but that's kind of where I'm at, dude.
For sure. Well, next up, we got an interesting story that came out this morning, again, just out of nowhere. The Compat team have developed a frames per second boost, or FPS boost, as they call it, which will employ a variety of new methods for nearly doubling, or in some instances, quadrupling, the original frame rate of select titles for Xbox Series X and S. The first batch of titles included are Far Cry 4, Sniper Elite 4, Watch Dogs 2, UFC 4, and new Super Lucky's Tale. And apparently, this is going to work kind of the same way it works with Auto HDR, where you'll get like a little icon indicating that
Love it.
FPS boost is a thing for the game, which is awesome. Very odd selection of games to choose from.
Super Lucky's Tale?
Well, not less so that, but it's like, really? You're going back to Far Cry 4 on this one? Or UFC 4. Like how many people on Xbox right now are currently playing UFC 4, Sean?
Yeah. It's like it's this mixed bag, like a really exciting feature and something that I think maybe some people are already assuming was a thing. But yeah, so it's great. But then like these titles they're fine. Watch Dogs 2 is legit. Watch Dogs 2 is excellent. I think that must have been running at 30 frames, and that's probably getting boosted to 60. I don't know if the details for each game were there. But Ryan, this is something that is like, it doesn't require any additional input or anything from the developers. So to me, that screams there are certain games that have an unlocked frame rate. Those were already going to get enhanced by the Series X and S. This seems to be for the games that do have a locked frame rate that does not require anything new from the developers for you to get like the best version of the game. And it's like, holy crap, man. They are checking off all of the boxes when it comes to preserving video games. Like, you're getting the best way to play them on the Series S and X, which makes sense, but it's just not something that we've really experienced certainly not in console gaming, but also I don't know if it really happens all that much in PC land either. So I don't know. I keep hearing from the other side, like, old games are old and blah, blah, blah. But then also, like, isn't it sweet that God of War is now boosted by the PS5? And it's like, guys, can we all just agree and stop with this nonsense of, like, stuff that matters here and doesn't matter over there? It's like, it's just wonderful when cool old games get automatically updated and you experience them with, like, all the power of your new hardware. Like, why would we be arguing about this, man? So good on Xbox for it.
The game preservationist in me, Sean, just says that this is fantastic news. And I'm so happy that Microsoft is pursuing this with the Back and Pat team. And it sounds like, again, like you kind of alluded to, it's probably just, hey, we're pushing a patch for the game that's just going to uncap the frame rate. And that's the only change they really had to make for a lot of these games, because the Series X and S power just from the hard drive itself, from the solid state hard drive, or just the processing power is enough to make it run at a better frame rate. So that's probably all they need to do.
For you, like, you're kind of like an old school kind of purist as well. So there is an update coming in spring that I thought would interest you, where you can actually turn some of these things off. Like, so in case you want to play them as they originally existed, you can actually turn off auto HDR. You can turn off the FPS boost. And I thought that was interesting, but and like such a niche thing, right? Like, who wouldn't want to play these games unlocked? But there's probably some people who, I don't know, maybe they appreciated the way the game's played. And it's sort of like when you play Mega Man Legacy Collection, and the games still kind of like slow down at the same point, even though obviously the hardware could run it without any slowdown. That's part of the experience in that game, and there's probably things like that with other games as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, especially like if you're a speedrunner, for example, and you're speed running and you require like it to be at a specific frame rate. Like there are specific reasons why you would want it at that frame rate, or maybe you never know. Maybe uncapping the frame rate causes something weird to happen with the game, or it changes the flow of combat in like a negative way. Like if you're playing like a first-person shooter that was 30 frames before and now it's 60 frames, that does alter the way combat
changes things,
for example.
Big time.
Yeah.
Well, now Microsoft just has to go over to Disney and say, okay, do this with Star Wars. Give us the option where we can watch the original Star Wars movies or whatever George did to mess him up in the 90s. You know what I'm saying, Ryan? We need that original back. We need to be able to flip it back and forth.
You say that, but they don't have the laser discs anymore to put that back on Disney Plus, Sean.
You've got to be. You know what, man? Oh, just burn it. Just rip it from somewhere, dude. Like, it's got to exist somewhere. You've got to be kidding me. Is that true? They're gone?
No, I'm joking, Sean. I'm joking.
I don't know.
I mean, that would be the story I would expect them to tell, though.
Dude, like we just talked about, like Mass Effect. Mass Effect, they they corrupted the files for some of that DLC. Like, it's gone. Like, the original source code is gone, which is nuts.
I suspect, Sean, that one day, if Disney Plus ever is struggling to get subscribers, that'll be like the announcement to get people to get go to Disney Plus would just be, oh, by the way, we actually have the original versions of.
Can you imagine? Oh my God, there'd be riots in the streets of Celebration.
Yeah, it'd be like that scene at the end of Return of the Jedi on Naboo that was added in the special edition where they're all cheering at the end.
Oh, that part. I thought you were just saying on, oh my God, the Ewoks planet. Help me.
No.
The jungle. What is
Endor?
it? Endor. Thank you. It's not a moon.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know how we got here.
Next, Radical Fish Games announced this morning a new expansion for Crosscode called A New Home. This might have been Ryan's favorite game on Xbox last year. It will release on Xbox this summer. It's going to be an epilogue that's going to take about 10 hours or so to complete. And it will give us some context as to what happens to all the characters at the end of Crosscode. So as someone who, like me, who loves Crosscode, Sean, who like fell in love with it last year, I'm so happy we're getting like new DLC for this game. And it must have been really successful for them to actually go back and put in the work to do this, because Crosscode's been out for a couple of years on PC, but after it came to consoles, I think it kind of blew up a little bit last year. So I'm glad to see that the studio's going back and adding some more content to this game that I love, and I'm so excited to play this over the summer. It's coming to PC next week, though, if you do have Crosscode on PC.
Ooh.
But, I'm going to wait for the Xbox version to play it, especially because, I mean, what else are we going to do this summer anyways, as far as video games, Sean? So next up, and this one kind of was out of nowhere as well earlier this week, Microsoft has started testing xCloud on web browsers for PC. sources familiar to Microsoft's Xbox plans to tell The Verge that employees are now testing a web version of xCloud ahead of public preview. The service allows Xbox players across their games through a browser, and it essentially opens up xCloud to work with devices like iPhones and iPads, which we already knew they were kind of working on.
It's getting closer.
This is kind of like coming around. The setup for it just looks exactly like Google Stadia as well, where you just go to a website, it has all your games there, and it kind of is trying to look like the Xbox app, essentially the Game Pass app, and then you just select a game and you just play it in your browser, which, again, super cool idea, and it's hopefully this is the sign that we're finally going to get that iOS version, so you can finally jump into the car with us and play some games, Sean, on xCloud.
Yeah, well, like, do you feel like this is sort of like a critical piece that's missing right now? Like, you know, like xCloud is a thing. It's not even like I don't even know if they don't really call it beta anymore either, do they? It's man, it's a terrible name for it. They should just call it xCloud. Nobody knows what it's called, which is terrible. But what I'm trying to say is, like, does it seem like it sort of exists, which is kind of like a good for you type of deal, but once they have iOS as part of this, that it seems like then it's actually like then the circle is complete, right? Where it's like now you have a fully functioning cloud streaming service for xCloud, where I just isn't, and maybe this is just because I'm on Apple and I don't play, or I don't have an Android phone that is part of my everyday life, where like I just don't think of cloud gaming when it comes to Xbox. And maybe it will when they start to round out with, or maybe I will when they start to round it out with Apple devices, and then also on PC as well. Like, it does seem like they've still got to take a couple more steps for this to be like the next pillar of Xbox gaming.
Yeah, and it's so weird that most people haven't even had a chance to try this out yet, especially because of the timing. And yeah, it's weird when you look at the Game Pass announcements and you always see that, oh, this game's coming exclusively to Android this time for Game Pass, and you're like, what? Really? Why does this matter?
Yeah, that's the thing.
But for me, like, even because I'm not going anywhere too, like, I think xCloud would be a bigger deal if people were going places. But like, I'm barely leaving my house. I'm not commuting anymore. So like, when am I gonna utilize this service? I think
xCloud on phones. The thing that what I'm trying to get at here is, like, I still don't feel like xCloud is the Stadia killer that it should be, and I think that's because you can't play it on PC. I think that's the missing piece for me, where what was I listening to? I think I was listening to Co-op Mode, which is a Secret Friends Unite podcast, and they had a Stadia superfan on there talking all about how, like, Stadia closed their studios, but it's still not all doom and gloom. And he was talking a lot about his love for Stadia and the benefits of, like, not having to download a 100 gigabyte game, and how much more convenient it is. And like, those are things that I haven't really thought about, but that will be huge for Xbox, when you're able to just stream a game and you don't have to worry about, you know, a lot of the things we deal with on Halo nights, where people don't have, you know, Halo 3 installed, or they don't have Halo 5 installed, and you got to wait for this big download. That's a huge benefit that is coming to Xbox that we don't quite have just yet, because we've been focused on, like, it's on Android and not on iOS, and it's not on computer. But yeah, there's a huge selling feature to Stadia that I bought into originally, by the way. I thought Stadia was the real deal, man, at the very start. Very quickly learned that wasn't the case. But yeah, there's still a lot to be explored with this xCloud business. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, Vern. Well, Sean, before we go, we gotta let Todd Oxtra into the car with us. Speaking of course, Secret Friends Unite, he asks, what's something from the Xbox/360 era that you'd love to see return to the current era of Xbox? Sean, is there anything particular on the 360 or the original Xbox that you really miss, that you wish would come back?
I miss the fact that I could have my inverted controls just defaulted. That was definitely one of them. But I'm like 1 out of 10 people who actually miss that sort of thing. What about you, man?
You say 1 out of 10, but literally I'm like the other one of those 1 out of 10, because I'm like that too. I'm also a fellow inverted player. So this is the inverted Xbox podcast, Sean. And I actually really miss that feature. In fact, one of the things I like about PS5 is they have that feature built in. So you don't ever have to worry about it. Like, I never have to change anything. And I wish Xbox would bring that back in a patch. The other one that I really loved on 360 in particular was whenever you had an Xbox Live Arcade game, it required a demo. to come with the game.
Oh yeah.
In order to play it. So, and it would usually a lot of times developers, what they would do is just release the game as is. You would download the full game and then you would play the first 2 levels and then it'd be like, hey, if you want to play the rest of it, you got to buy it. So
yeah.
I really missed that because I think it exposed a lot more people to games that might have never heard of or never checked out because there was a demo there. And I just don't think we get enough more demos these days. And I think a lot of that just has to do with a lot of times developers don't want to put in the extra effort to make a separate demo that's cut off from the main game. That's its own thing. Whereas back in the day, I think Xbox actually had like a really solid method for doing that on 360 with the arcade demos. So that's one of the things I really miss from the 360 era. Otherwise, a lot of stuff from the 360 era or the original Xbox era, we kind of have that. I mean, you can still rip all your CDs to your console and then make your own nice. Soundtrack if you want to. You can still do a lot of the same features you could on 360. So
you know what you can't do? Really I'm surprised that that you're not bringing this up. This is how far we've come, or maybe how far we've fallen. When you put a disc in the 360 game, you played the 360 game. When you put a disc into a new console, you install that game, and that was a huge difference. I didn't play games on my PlayStation 3 often because I had to install it. I thought that was absolutely ridiculous, like this physical game. And 360 was just you popped it in and you played it, man. Like that was a huge difference. And people forget that was actually the case because we've gotten already so used to installing games, both physical and now digital, of course.
I mean, that's the whole reason why I stopped buying physical games last generation, Sean.
It's like, what's the point?
What's the point if I have to, especially because I will require the internet to download patches to make it work anyway.
No doubt. Yeah, that made it even worse.
Or like download half the game sometimes. It's just, why bother buying a physical disc?
Yeah, man.
Right? So it's just shelf space that I could use for old games.
Yeah.
Essentially
no
that
doubt.
you play right off the disc. But anyway, Sean, we got to go. But before we go, Sean, plugs go.
You can find me on Twitter at Sean Capri. It's Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. I would appreciate it if you followed me there. And like Ryan said at the top of the show, if you guys want to support what we do here, as well as We the Gamercast, which is my sweet hangs with strangers from the internet, and all the other things, you can go to patreon.com/Yumi Capri.
As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. That's TURFORD, because everybody always asks. You also find us on YouTube at youtube.com/The Xbox Drive, on Twitter at The Xbox Drive, and on podcast services around the globe. So for Sean Capri, I'm Ryan Turford. This has been episode 178 of The Xbox Drive, and we out.
I had a really good time talking to Ryan Turford on the Xbox Drive this week. I hope you had a really good time listening to the Xbox Drive this week. I bet Ryan wasn't expecting me to do one of these really, really long outros, but he's actually doing really good. I'm out of breath now, too. Bye.